What's going on, Broncos country? Welcome into the show. Happy Friday to you. And before we get into our OTA winners and losers for 2025, do you know who Tyler Jones is? He's the Chiefs Report host over there on that channel. And he was talking some major smack, saying that the Broncos were false prophets or whatever that means heading into the 2025 season. So do me a favor, spam FKC down in the comments section. Let's show him that we do not care at all what he thinks. What's up, Broncos fans? Welcome into the show today. My name is Moose, and on today's Broncos Breakdown episode, going over the final OTA winners and losers. So this is an amalgamation of all of the winners and losers, not just from this week and not just from week one. I've combined all of them into two separate lists, the winners and unfortunately, the losers. And remember, there are no real losers. It's June. There's no pads. It's all just a part of what we have seen from players that have performed greatly and players that maybe have sunk back just a little bit. Starting with the winners, of course. Mr. Troy Franklin comes in at number one. And after doing a little bit more homework about Troy Franklin, especially in the second week of OTAs, he has been performing well above what everybody was originally anticipating. In fact, Sean Payton said, you haven't been able to see all the plays because the media wasn't allowed in on majority of the days during OTAs, but there have been a number of explosive plays for Troy Franklin. And Broncos fans should be not only relieved to hear that, but really excited to hear that, because going off of what Franklin did in 2024, it was a little bit lackluster. And I get it, rookie season, now that he's entering year two, the speed of the game has caught up with him. He's more gelled into the offense. But there's one thing that I want to note about Troy Franklin is not only his rapport with Bo Nix, even going back to his college days, but I feel like he can be a reliable slot receiver for this Broncos wide receiver room. Does that necessarily mean that he's going to be wide receiver 2? I don't think so. There's a wide variety of options to go with number 2 right now. That's what's so exciting about this Broncos wide receiver room. It could be Mims. It could be Vele. It could be Franklin. It could be Pat Bryant, for all we know. There are so many different options that the Broncos have, and that's what probably is, the main question heading into 2025, at least when it comes to the wide receivers. Who's going to emerge as wide receiver 2? If I had to put my money on it right this moment, like today you put a gun to my head and you said, who's wide receiver 2? I'd probably go Marvin Mims, but that could very easily change as we get forward with mandatory minicamp, heading into training camp and into the preseason to week 1. But I'll ask you this question flat out. I feel like we've already asked this question to you before, but still, let me know in the comment section down below. If you had to pick your wide receiver 2 today, who would it be? Franklin, Vele, or Mims? Or it could be Pat Bryant. We didn't put him on this list for, rookie purposes, but he could be another option that you put down in the comment section as well. Our second winner, Jahdae Barron. And this is somebody that, you want to see on the winners list because he is a first-round pick. If he was on the losers list, there might be a bit of slight concern, but if you remember what I said in yesterday's episode, Pat Surtain sounded off. And when you're number one corner, and not only your number one corner, but the best cornerback in the league, has these kind words to say about you, it's pretty telling. And Surtain talks about the versatility that Jahdae brings to the cornerback room. And not only that, but his brain. How he's able to diagnose plays and understands coverages and different packages and where he's supposed to be. Sean Payton reiterated that. Flat out said he's so smart. His instincts are off the charts. Not to sound like Dr. Seuss and rhyme a little bit, but you get my point. And notice that little quote down there at the bottom, which we'll touch on here a little bit later on in the episode. The vision for him is corner, obviously, inside and outside. And if I'm looking at the Broncos cornerback room right now, there's a lot of talent here. There's a lot. Think about this. If Riley Moss ends up becoming a backup or at least a rotational corner sliding in and out with Jahdae at that outside cornerback 2 position, that's a really good spot to be in. There is a no-fly zone incoming with this Broncos secondary, and you've got to be excited about it. I know I am. I know that excitement has been a word that I've thrown around a lot on this channel recently, but right now, hype should be at the very highest. Don't you agree? I mean, June is the time to really start to build that hype, that excitement, that, looking forward to everybody's play on the field. So let's talk about the cornerbacks. Let's rank them real quick. If you had to rank the Broncos cornerback room right now, 1 through 32 NFL teams, cornerback room as a whole, let me know what you would put in the comment section down below. I'd still say right now it's top 5. I would say maybe top 3 too. But then again, hey, there's a lot of different ways that this could go, and we haven't seen a lot of these guys. We haven't seen Barron hit the field yet as an NFL starter. So that could be a completely different number by the time week 5 or week 6 rolls around. Either way, let me know in the comment section down below. Third winner, RJ Harvey. And again, another player that you really want to see take the next step from the time that he started at rookie minicamp to OTAs, albeit it's not that long of a time. It's only about a 3 or 4 week swing. But one of the questions that everybody's been asking about Harvey was, how are his hands? If Sean Payton wants to mold him into the next Alvin Kamara or Darren Sproles, he's got to be able to catch the football, right? Well, Zach Stevens came out, who's been reporting and doing an excellent job of it, said this about a particular deep connection that RJ Harvey ran. It looked like a choice route where he had the ability to either check it down or go out to the flat and just kind of burn it upfield, and that's what he did. And Bo threw about a 25-yard strike. Had a little bit of touch on it. It was beautiful. Right in Harvey's hands. Super silky smooth. It looked great. And part of the strengths that I feel like Harvey has been displaying at OTAs is, one, his lateral quickness was on full display, something that was a major strength of his coming out of college, his ability to shift left to right and make defenders miss with jukes and spin moves. His bag is deep. His hands look soft and smooth. It looks natural as a pass catcher. So that's something that I believe is, a very undervalued trait that we haven't really or didn't really see at UCF. And his physical traits, the size of his quads, man. I mean, he is the quad father, are just insane. They jump off the page at you. He's got such a great lower center of gravity. That lower body strength is just, it just makes you want to run through a brick wall. But going back to his time at UCF, the ability to run the football, his ability to find holes, run with anticipation, and exploit defenses in that regard was on full display. That's not something that I feel like any Broncos fan should have any concern about. But the receiving part of his game was still pretty good. These aren't jump-off-the-page numbers, but they aren't awful. So all of that combined with Sean Payton's ability to mold Harvey as a pass catcher means that not only am I excited to watch him play, but I also feel like he's got a winner's mentality. I feel like when he was asked about Kamara and Sproles to say, I want to be better than those guys, shows a confidence that I want to see out of my football players. But that's just me. Let's go to our last winner. And I did just briefly mention him. I've kind of mentioned him throughout the episode, Sean Payton. I got to hand it to him. I got to clap it up to him. If you would have said during the Russ years of Sean Payton's tenure, that first year that he was with Russell Wilson, I would have told you there were a lot of concerns. And there were a lot of concerns. But the Russ rebuild is coming full circle. Sean Payton clearly knew that he had to pivot off of Russ and remold this team to make them successful again. And Zach Stevens came out and specifically about OTAs was talking about how Sean Payton is so pleased with the progressions that he saw from the players at OTAs, that the practices have been great. But let's break down the plan that Sean Payton, at least in my mind, had for this Broncos team. The first one being move on from Russell Wilson. Check. You did that. The second being then draft your franchise quarterback. Check. You did that. Strengthen the defense, which, again, if you remember that Miami Dolphins loss where they dropped 70 on your head, you would have thought there was a lot of work to be done. But in a short period of time, they went from one of the worst defenses, if not the worst defense in the league, to one of the best defenses in the league. Check. And finally, I'm going to use the J word. Get your jokers. Well, Harvey, Ingram, back to back. So all four of those seem to be coming along swimmingly. I got to hand it to Sean Payton. He's a Hall of Fame head coach. He really is. And it's on full display. He knows how to run a team. He knows what he's doing. I have full confidence in him. It went from like an 8 to a 9 or a 9.5, my confidence in him. And speaking of 9.5s, this shirt would look like a 9.5 on you. Make sure you use this link that I've put in the comments and description of today's video to start shopping with Fanatics today. It could be this Bo Nix T-Shirt, which I'm not going to lie to you, I'm thinking about buying myself. But it could be anything. Shirts, jerseys, hats, gloves, you name it. If you want to start shopping with Fanatics, make sure you start with this link that I put in the comments and description of today's video. Okay, now the losers. And remember, losers, it's June. We haven't seen anything really yet. Mandatory minicamp will be the first time that we actually get to see what these guys look like full speed. The first one I have to say is Jaleel McLaughlin. And again, not because of anything that he did wrong at OTAs. But Harvey has been performing spectacularly. Audric Estime has been listed as a breakout candidate. So you tell me, out of all of the guys that are currently in the running back room right now for Denver, which one do you think ends up taking the back seat out of the rotational players? The guys that will actually see the field in a multitude or a bigger capacity. I got to think it's Jaleel. There won't be enough mouths to feed, especially with J.K. Dobbins still looming in the background. Now, nothing's happened yet, but they're still on the radar. The Broncos still have him on the radar, I should say, excuse me. So that, to me, leads me to believe that there might be a trade candidate coming in this running back room. And if it were up to me, if I'm George Payton, and I have the ability to put one of those players right now on the trade market, it's Jaleel, because he could be the guy that gets me the most draft capital back. So I hate to say it, but right now, unless he shows us something different, I don't know necessarily that his role is going to be what we even think it would have been let me start over. I don't think his role will be what we predicted it to be before drafting an RJ Harvey. I don't see it happening. Now, before we get on to my next couple of losers, we are this freaking close, Broncos country. We need 60 subscribers to hit 36,000. It'll be my very first milestone, producer Colin. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So make sure that you hit that subscribe button right now if you already haven't for free daily Broncos content on your YouTube timeline. Our second loser, Riley Moss. Again, you're going to see a trend here. I'm not saying that any of these players had bad performances at OTAs. In fact, a lot of them didn't because there wasn't a lot to go on. There were other players that took the spotlight. But Sean Payton was talking about Barron, saying the vision for him, do you remember this, is corner, inside and outside. So when you drafted Jahdae, you thought he was going to play that slot nickel corner, which would have been Jaquan McMillan's position. But now it kind of looks like that they're going to rotate him between that outside corner and the nickel corner. So that rotation of cornerbacks is going to be something, at least early on, you're going to see frequently. And if I'm looking at the Broncos cornerback depth chart, Barron's going to start, guys. So who's going to get slid out? Right now, to me, it looks like Riley Moss. Maybe Jaquan McMillan if they decide to start Jahdae in the nickel corner at first. But Sean said inside and outside. So one of those two players, Moss or McMillan, is going to see a diminished role. Right now, I would say it's Moss. But that very well could be Jaquan McMillan. It's just going to depend on where Sean Payton envisions putting Jahdae. So that right now, I would say, is probably my second loser, if you want to call it that. The last one, again, also in the secondary, PJ Locke. And this is because of what I view his role will be in 2025. Not very high. Now, he did play pretty well in 2024. If you from a standpoint of tackles, he had 74 tackles, but 0 interceptions, only 2 pass breakups. His PFF grade sucked, and I know PFF is, something that we kind of roll our eyes with, with a bit of grain of salt. But bringing in Talanoa Hufanga really put a damper on what I believe P.J. Locke's role will be, because you still have Brandon Jones, and Brandon Jones is clearly your starting free safety. So if you're putting in Talanoa Hufanga at your strong safety, your other free safety is P.J. Locke. But Hufanga's a versatile player as well. A harder hitting safety, granted, plays a little bit more like Troy Polamalu, and DJ Jones, our nose tackle, played with both of them and had said, quote, and this was just yesterday, they're both special. So P.J. Locke's role, in my opinion, is going to be even further down the list. Now, does that mean that he's never going to see the field? No. But does he take an even further rotational role back where maybe instead of playing in 15 games, he plays in 12 or 11? It's possible. Everything's going to depend on how everybody performs in minicamp and in training camp. So keep your eyes peeled on that. So that's why I have those 3 guys in as quote-unquote losers. Remember, spam FKC down in the comments section for me. It's super easy. Takes like 3 seconds, and it shows those Chiefs fans they're no longer on top of the AFC West. So spam it down in the comment section down below. I want to see at least 100 FKCs. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Remember to subscribe, like the video if you aren't. Take 2. Like the video if you already haven't, and we'll see you next time. Be cool.